Hi, everyone. This is Jamesia Hoyle, the coordinator for the Next Generation Global Health Security Network. First of all, I want to thank you for joining us today for the launch of our 2018 Infectious Disease Mapping Challenge in conjunction with the VSFS Fellows of the U.S. Department of State. As a quick reminder, during the webinar, if you do have questions about the mapping challenge, I ask that you please type your questions in the chat box at the right of your screen, and we will answer the questions after the presentation. So we're joined today with Shannon Bauer, a VSFS fellow. Shannon will be talking to us today about the Infectious Disease Mapping Challenge. Shannon received her MS in International Public Service and is currently in her final year of the MPH program at DePaul University. She has an interest in GIS and epidemiology. She began an e-internship with the Virtual Student Federal Service Program in September 2017 and has worked with her team to promote the Map It Challenge in order to raise awareness to the mission of the Global Health Security Agenda by encouraging students from around the globe to use their skills in GIS to create maps emphasizing infectious diseases. So with that, Shannon, I will turn it over to you so you can start with the presentation.
Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Shannon, and I'm really excited to be here speaking to you about the mapping challenge. My team, we have Christina, Amanda, Tiana, and Selena, and we're all working together to promote this challenge. We all have various skills, so we're hoping that together we can make this a really successful opportunity for all students around the globe to participate. So the general information and purpose of the challenge is working with the U.S. Department of State's Office of International Health and Biodefense to promote the this infectious disease mapping challenge to students in universities across the U.S. To engage and reinforce the value of GIS and analyzing health problems to inform policymakers. So the Global Health Security Agenda works to reduce the threat of infectious disease around the world while advancing global health security. And again, the purpose of this challenge is to invite students interested in GIS and health to create maps based on proposed research questions. So research questions. So all participants will be formulating a research question that focuses on, but is not limited to, several different categories such as emerging infectious diseases, migratory patterns of wildlife linked to zoonosis, health disparities, antimicrobial resistance, and health workforce and access. So again, these are just ideas of what areas you may want to focus on for your mapping project. However, again, these are just recommendations, and we're really open to whatever kind of research question that you think is important right now in the world to focus on. And before I get started, so you'll formulate a research question to focus on your map. You'll start looking at data sets, and then really hone in on your research question, look at the maps, and then you'll write up a report on your map. So finding the data sets, there are several useful places to find a data set for using GIS, so geoinformation systems, humanitarian data exchange, UN data, CDC data, WHO data repository, geo.data.gov, ecdc.europa.eu, sorry, research.csc.fi/OpenGIS data, And if you were to just Google sort of governmental GIS data, you can find lists like these. We encourage using governmental and public data because we believe that it'll be easiest to access and to use. You can, although participants don't have to be fluent in using ArcGIS and other GIS software, it is helpful, but we can definitely help you along the way. And you're also able to partner with other team members who might have that expertise. And while you're sort of doing your project, you might have some problems, whether it is the software related or finding data or writing about your research topics. Me and my team, we're here to help you. That's our purpose of the challenge, is to not only promote the challenge, but also to support participants. So GIS troubleshooting and information, we have some topics that might come up when you're doing this project. So if you are having problems with ArcGIS or other software, we have some resources that you can use. The ESRI support and community pages online are really helpful. Additionally, ArcGIS, if that's what you're using, there's resources on the ArcGIS page if you're just at resources.arcgis, or if you just Google ArcGIS help or resources, you can come across these links through Google. Additionally, YouTube has ESRI videos related to GIS. And I'm not sure if all of your universities give you access, but lynda.com, Lynda, is a really helpful online tutorial site that has a lot of GIS videos if you need help with that. So once you have your map and your projects, you're going to obviously submit them. So some specific information on submitting those maps. So the deadline, of course, is important to know. So you're going to want to write this down if you're going to participate in the challenge, which we hope that you will. March 23rd, 2018. We're hoping that from now until then, that'll give you plenty of time, 3 months to create your map and to perfect your project to submit. Obviously, you can submit it earlier than March 23rd, but that's the absolute last day that we will be accepting submissions. So how many maps can you submit? You do not have to only submit one map. You are open to submitting up to 3 maps. So sometimes your research question might look at a few different things. Hopefully it's really specific, because we think that will help make the project more comprehensible and successful. But sometimes when you're looking at some research, you want to look at a few different maps to really explain what you're talking about. So for this challenge, you could submit up to 3 maps. But you can also just submit 1, and that's totally okay. So what is required on the map? So each map should include the following items: the title, a legend, scale bar, and the location labeling, if that's easier for clarification on your map. So whichever will make it easier to read visually, but definitely you're going to need to include the title, legend, scale bar. So is there anything else you need to submit? So yeah, I was talking a little bit about the research question, because only submitting a map won't really give us an idea of what you're actually wanting us to know. So you're going to provide the research question that you use to create the map, and then you're going to explain why this research question is important. So as you know, maps are really helpful for visually understanding data, whereas, a paper is more dense, and policymakers and individuals such as that have limited time to look through these things. So maps make it really easy for the general public and also these policymakers to understand the extent of the issue that you're talking about. But you're going to also want to write up a paper about what your map is about. So you're going to provide the research question and explain why the research question is important. And you're going to want to find the gap in that research and then make the map through that in your paper. So you're going to state your approach to generating the map and the data sources used. So talk about how you made the map and where you got the data. Then you're going to summarize your map findings in a clear and concise manner, as well as any limitations or roadblocks that were encountered. Next, you're going to point out any future potential research questions or follow-up work needed. And finally, make sure you cite all of your resources and works cited at the end of your document. So word limits, we do have guidelines. So the research question, we recommend keeping that to about 25 word limit. And then your explanation as to why and your justification as to why that research question is important, that'll be about 150 words. Next, your data sources and approach, 250 word limit. The summary of the map findings is, again, 250 words. Roadblocks and limitations, about 150 words. And then potential future research questions or follow-up, 150 words. Obviously, the citations don't have a word limit, just include everything that you use to create the paper. And you'll notice that these word limits are pretty small. So it'll be a practice in conciseness in writing. So if that's a challenge, you can also reach out to us and we can help kind of get you on that right track if that's an issue for you. So formatting the documents, your maps and your documents must be submitted in one file, either in a PDF, a doc, or a docx format. And the submission page of our website will also tell you how to format the title of your file. So make sure you pay attention to that, because that'll be helpful with us collecting all of the projects. So descriptive or domestic maps, if you're submitting a descriptive or domestic map, state what led you to create this type of map in the explanatory documents. So whichever map you decide to create, just make sure you're justifying the reason of doing so within the document. And then any other submission requirements, make sure that all documents are submitted in English. And if you're working on a team, make sure everyone's name is included on that document. So the incentive of participating in this map is, not only to use your knowledge in GIS and public health as a student to create these maps, but it's also a really awesome and unique experience to submit these maps to the U.S. Department of State's Office of International Health and Biodefense for these professionals to look at and to understand, your work ethic and your appreciation of the field. So that's a really cool recognition. Selected teams, so teams that are selected based on the maps they submit will have the opportunity to present their research to policymakers at the State Department and other NGOs, which is really awesome. And you can definitely write that on your CV. There is no cash prize for this challenge, but that allows for the opportunity for you to keep this as your work. And if you would like to get this publicized or published, then you still own the rights to this work, and you can definitely submit this for publications in the future. So this is your work that you would be sharing with the U.S. State Department, but they would not own it. You would still own the map. And I think, I mean, personally, I think that's a really great opportunity to be recognized as a student among these individuals and professionals, to realize that students are working hard and can kind of participate in the collection of knowledge and data to help these world issues. I mean, you have the expertise, you have the knowledge, so it's a great way to participate and engage in that. So now, I guess we'll open it to questions.
Hi.
Oh yeah, before I start, sorry, can I go ahead and share the website, or should we do questions first?
Yeah, go ahead and share the website. Sure.
Okay, great, sorry. Okay. So I'm gonna show you the website that you'll submit and you'll access for specific information about the challenge. So let me find it. Sorry. Okay, so this is the mapping challenge website. It'll take you to the home screen. So it's mapitchallenge.dudaone.com. And when you reach the website, it'll take you to the home screen. And what I okay, if you scroll down, there is a kind of countdown to when the interest forms are due, and I didn't mention the interest forms yet, but the interest forms are due January 19th. And the purpose of the interest form is to do exactly what it means. You're letting us know. Oh, wow. Okay, sorry. So yeah, at the end it says interested, email us by January 19th. You'll include your name, and we'll send you a link to the page of the interest form, and we'll ask you who's on your team and what your research question may be. It doesn't have to be exactly narrowed down, but just a general idea if you have it. And again, the purpose of the interest form in collecting the email addresses of everyone who is interested in participating allows me and my team to reach out to you throughout the process and ask you how things are going, because we really want you to be successful and we want to be able to help you along the way. So there's about us. I talked about that a little bit, but if you want to read more about us, you can go there. Challenge information tab, you can see the overview, you can see the timeline, and you can see mapping categories, the ones that I mentioned a little bit earlier. So the timeline will tell you, you can go here to access the interest form, and again, submit that by January 19th. And then while the process is going on, you'll submit progress reports to us. And again, this really isn't supposed to be, I don't know, a lot of work on your end. It's really just so we understand how your work is going on and we can reach out to you and help you along the way. And then finally, the submission is March 23rd. And then April 7th is when the selected entries are announced. And then there's a submission tab when you're finally finished, and all the criteria is also listed on this tab. So you can go through and then attach and submit your map and all your documents through here by March 23rd or before March 23rd. And then there's a contact tab as well that you can email us directly. Otherwise, I'll put up our email address at the end of this slide too. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Shannon, for the presentation. It's very informative. So just want to remind people, if you do have questions, there is the chat box available to the right of your screen. If you could just type those questions in, we will get them answered. In the meantime, we'll start with some questions just that I have. And then Taylor, of course, if you have some, please feel free to jump in as well.
I will. I'll wait till after you've asked yours.
Okay, great. Shannon, you mentioned at the beginning of the presentations about data sets, and I just wanted to ask, I know that you had mentioned quite a few various examples, and can you just speak to the availability of those data sets in all countries? Or do you think that there will be limitations?
That's a really good idea. So I know that, obviously US, if you're residing in the US, you have access to a lot of those maps. And I guess I'm not exactly sure what the exact limitations would be if you're in a different country, or what accessing governmental geographic data looks like in other countries. But I think that it would be a good idea for me and my team to put some additional information on that on our website, and we can work this week to flesh that out.
Okay, great. And so my follow-on question to that is that if people are experiencing issues with gathering, or either accessing data sets or gathering data, is your team available to help kind of guide them through the process of getting additional information?
Yes. So that's kind of our purpose. Here's our email at the bottom of this screen, the idmapcteam@gmail.com. You can email us with questions at any point. And additionally, through the progress reports, you'll kind of say where you're at and how things are coming along for you. And then we'll read those and reach back out to you. But again, if you don't want to wait for the progress reports, which are about every 3 weeks, so essentially once a month, you can email us at any time. And we all have different expertise and levels of those expertise. So we make an interesting team that can really help and support all participants. But that's essentially what our role is, to really reach out to the participants and help them.
Great. Is there a preference for the citations, whether it be MLA or APA?
I assume APA is pretty standard. I'm not sure if it, I mean, I don't think if you submit something, you know, you might not be selected just because of your citations, but I think APA is usually pretty standard.
And are you guys planning to load the judging criteria to the website?
Yeah, I'll talk to my team about that. But I think I'm not positive exactly all the things that we're looking at. I think, but yeah, I can have a meeting with my team, and we can definitely provide more information on what a successful submission looks like.
Okay. And then last question for me is, as looking at the team, the compositions of the teams, do you know, based on your knowledge of the judging criteria, would there be any advantages for teams that may be multidisciplinary or teams that are comprised of participants from multiple regions?
I think the teams can be comprised of kind of anyone. And again, you can work individually if you want. But if you do have other people that you know of, or if you're interested in working in a team but don't know anyone, again, you can submit an interest form. And if multiple people are kind of looking for a team, you can email us, and maybe we can try to collect those, that information of those individuals, and we can help you form a team if you're comfortable working with people remotely that you don't necessarily know, but who want to work on a team together. We can do that. I think you could work with a team if someone knows GIS really well, and if someone is more interested in the research aspect. If you work together, I mean, I think it can be multiple disciplinary, or you can have the same skill sets. I think however you work best, and yeah, I think they can be sort of like not essentially homogenous. So
okay, great, thanks. Just for people who may be watching the webinar but not have access to the chat, there is a comment that says, to answer the question of data sets, setting internet connectivity issues, many organizations do maintain free data sets accessible to anyone. So that's good to know as people are thinking about where to access their data sets.
Okay.
So Taylor, I'll hand it over to you for any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Yeah, so you guys answered my question about how to find team members. I have a question for those who might find out about this in, say, a week, or who might find a team a little bit after the 19th. Can they submit an interest form late, or is that a hard deadline?
So the interest form, we encourage, we definitely want people to submit the interest form just so we understand who is participating, and then we can kind of understand what kind of capacity we need to have in order to support all the participating members and teams. But I mean, you can still submit a map by March 23rd if you don't do the January 19th deadline. We just really encourage submitting the interest form. But if you are a little late, we can, again, we're here to help you. We can help you if you get a little bit late. But if you are interested at all, we just recommend you submitting the interest form saying, I'm not exactly sure what I want to do, but I know I want to participate. And you can really just write that in the interest form, and then we can work with you.
All right, thank you. And then my other question is, when it comes to students trying to evaluate the data sets that they can find and that they're working with, do you believe that it is more useful to have a smaller region that has more granularity in the data set, or to have a global data set that maybe only has country level data? Which do you find to be more useful? Because I feel like a lot of students wouldn't be clear on which they should choose to answer their question.
Right. I think it depends on what your research question is. If you are looking at multiple countries and kind of tracking a disease that way, or if your research question is really specific to an area, I mean, that would be sort of the difference, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. And then I think the only other question I really have is, how in depth of a level is your kind of support going to be for these students? If you've got students who have zero GIS experience and they say, I want to know how to do this. Are you guys going to be a resource for that? Or are you just going to direct them to the online tutorials?
Probably more of the latter, just because there are, just a few of us. We can't, necessarily video conference and share screens with everyone all the time. We're also students, but as much as we can, we have the knowledge of all the resources, and a lot of us are really well expertise in the software too. So if it's just a matter of, okay, I'm looking at this and I have these questions, we can definitely help with that. We can't necessarily be a GIS instructor and teach you this software in less than 3 months, because usually those kind of classes are longer than 3 months to begin with. But as long as you're making participants making the effort to learn, and it's this complementary thing where we're helping and supporting you while the participant is doing as much as they can to learn at their computer. I think we can do as much as we can with that, and we're really open to helping as much as we can.
Great, thank you. Jamesia, that's all the questions I have.
Awesome, thanks. So I don't see any additional questions in the chat box, so I think Shannon will close it out from there. If you want to put up your last screen just with the contact information, great. So I want to thank you for providing the information on the Infectious Disease Mapping Challenge for everyone today. And I'll let you close out with any final thoughts or comments that you may have.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for listening. I really hope that everyone is excited about this. I think it's a really awesome opportunity. I think as a student, it goes beyond just submitting an assignment for class. You're submitting this to the U.S. Department of State for those professionals and policymakers to really look at, and that makes a difference. And you have this expertise and you have these resources to really make a difference, and just take advantage of the fact that something you create can really just be in front of those individuals. And I think that's really awesome. And I know as a student, that's empowering to me, because that's the goal of just actually making an impact and making a difference. So again, thank you for listening. I hope that you're interested. Again, you can email us at idmapcteam@gmail.com for any questions, inquiries, really just anything. We're available to speak to. And yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, everyone.